Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, live from the Dubliners, Dubai. How are we all? Hope everyone is well. Welcome to another episode of Soccer Saturday, live with us, the Dubliners, Dubai. It's going to be a fun one today. There's a good crowd in. UAE's best Irish bar none, with a budget bigger than Chelsea's January window and Love Island combined. Welcome to Super Saturday on Hollywood Balls. Okay, today's show is powered by the magnificent Board 8 Football Club, the first football community DAO built to support grassroots football in the UK, of which another joined the stable this weekend. Our very own legend, Super Kevin Campbell. Delighted to see your design this week. Let's have a quick look at that one. There he is, designed by the main man himself. Brings back memories, fond memories, Kev, in all seriousness, of that strip, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, Pete. I remember when we first saw it, a lot of the lads were turned off of it, obviously. You know, what's all this about? But it became a real cult kit. It was a very good kit for us as a side. And now it's still there, Pete. Even with the hat, mate. It still looks good.
Well, you were involved in the design. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Brilliant as well as brilliant. Joining us today is the king of pens himself, and I'm not talking about spot kicks. It's Arab News sports editor Ali Khalid. AK, how are you?
I'm very well, Pete. Thanks for having me on the show.
Brilliant. Can't wait to catch up because you've been in Riyadh seeing the two GOAT 1 and GOAT 2 or GOATs or whatever. We'll catch up and talk about that. Yep. A big match previews. What a weekend of football. I said to Super Kev this morning, I texted him and said, what a massive weekend of Premier League football. And he texted me back quite rightly and said, it's every weekend. The build-up, they're coming thick and fast, the games. So let's kick off. Matthew's in the house. Good to have him here. Salisu is here as well, my favourite show. Good man. Good to have you with us on the journey, as well as everyone here in the Dubliners. Happy hour, I believe. Well, it looks like it in here anyway. Big match previews. Liverpool, Chelsea. Going to come to the main man, Kev himself. What a game to kick the weekend off. But not ideal placings that we're seeing these two sides. It's something of a bit of a mid-table clash, isn't it, Kev?
Yeah, Pete. It's surprised a lot of people. The fall where these two clubs are at the moment. Liverpool are trying to get themselves together. Chelsea are just buying everything that moves, and it's going to be an interesting day. Liverpool got to win, and Chelsea got to win. So you know we're going to probably see Mudryk today with a bit of luck at some stage. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. But both of these clubs have just fallen away, Pete. It's surprising, but you know it is what it is at the end of the day. I think Liverpool really have to win this one.
I do, Ali. Your beloved Reds. Now, I've got some stats for you that might make you feel a bit better because it hasn't been a great couple of weeks for Liverpool, but you've only lost 2 of the last 15 league meetings. So therefore, it's got draw written all over it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agree with what Kev said. I think they both desperately need a win. Of course, goes without saying, you know. And I think a draw will be of no use to anyone here. You know, I think, you know, possibly, you know, in terms of confidence, not losing obviously it would be good, but in terms of where you are in the table, I don't think it's of any use. So they both have to go all out for a win. I think, you know, as you know, like Chelsea have bought all these players. You know, I'm not sure who's going to be starting and not. You know, it's going to take some time to bed in. I think I'm not sure what's going on at that club. You know, because I think it's great that they're backing their manager, but at the same time, I think the more players they sign, the more money they have, the less time he gets in a way, you know, like, because, you know, he will have less and less excuses, you know, or not that he's making excuses, but like, you know, people will if you spend 200 million pounds on players, then people are going to expect instant. They're not going to give you 3 years to bet them in. And Liverpool's we're looking at the opposite. They haven't signed anyone. They signed Gakpo, but where everyone's been looking is the midfield, where they look very leggy. They look like they've run out of steam. The midfielders. Fabinho has been one of the best players in the Premier League over the last few years, and he looks a little bit shot at the moment. Henderson as well. Like they don't look like they have the legs to do the high press. That's what's made Liverpool successful. And I think, Kev, tell me what you think of this. I think what a lot of Liverpool players Liverpool fans, have been saying is that they've missed replacing someone like Gini Wijnaldum, who was always available, an absolute workhorse in the middle of the field, always did the job, but never injured, always that's one of the other things Liverpool have always had, over the last 16, 17 months, a lot of injuries, and with Wijnaldum, he was always available, always doing a job, and they haven't really replaced him, although of course without him last year they had a fantastic season.
Yeah, but
Good point, Kev.
but you know what, Ali? What I would say is, a lot of the time, even when Wijnaldum was there, they were saying that they lacked, sometimes at the top end, against the Man Cities, they lacked a bit of creativity. So obviously, then you bring in somebody else, and that suffers. Wijnaldum come to the end of his contract, obviously goes under the radar. They sell him. Him and Mane just proved how important and influential they were for Liverpool. And they're very tough to replace.
Yeah, I mean, the system that Klopp plays, it's almost everyone needs to be playing, at the edge, and they did that for three and a half years. Superb, barely lost the game, lots of wins, lots of records, and lots of trophies, But you make the point about creativity in midfield. You're absolutely right.
Thiago, they bring Thiago.
Thiago came in, before that it was Coutinho. There was a few years without, Coutinho. I think almost by design, Klopp was like, well, Mane and Salah are creative enough. They dropped, so they can create. Obviously, same with Firmino. But that's when all three of them were absolutely at the top level. Once they dropped off, once Mane left, Firmino's is having his injury problems and all that. Suddenly, there's no creativity from anywhere.
Interesting. Listen, you mentioned Chelsea there, Ali. So I'm going to come to Kev because remind me. I do want to talk about the North London derby, Kev. But while we mention Chelsea, I've had a lot of questions this week, so I've been doing quite a bit, all joking aside, to try and understand it. So my question to both of you guys this morning, as we were prepping for the show, was FFP. We all know about it. Everyone mentions it. Everyone talks about it. But do they really know what it's all about? So are Chelsea playing clever here? And this is a question to Kev first, but I'll come to you as well, AK. Or are they bending the rules? Because the Premier League rules allow Chelsea to lose 35 million per season, while UEFA's current FFP regulations limit losses to 25 mil over a 3-year period. So there's percentages in there, and it's looked to 70% for 2024, 25, all of the finances. They've got that covered. It's clever. They've worked in their COVID and pandemic on incomes as well. But Kev, the big gamble is they've got to finish in the Champions League to be able to get this working. And currently, that plan's not happening.
Well, that's the whole crux of the whole problem, Pete. That's the corner piece. The moment you take away that Champions League, it all falls down, Pete. So they are bending it, but they're bending it, not breaking it. They're bending it to make sense and to try and get this Chelsea squad up to speed, because they're decimated with injuries and they're bringing in firepower to try and move them up the league into the challenge for the Champions League. But here's the big problem they've got, Pete. They're not playing well enough. They are not playing well enough to get that Champions League. So do you know what, Pete? After the Abramovich time, Chelsea are in big trouble. That's why they have to go for it today.
It's amazing, Ali. I mean, we talk about it, and a lot of fans are saying to me, a lot of Newcastle fans are saying, yeah, but how can they spend this? Well, they can because of their profit margin. It's all about the margins, isn't it? And of course, Newcastle have never had that profit margin. Chelsea have. So that let's end that of why Chelsea can spend that amount of money and Newcastle can't. It's because of profit margins.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pete, there's two things. First of all, I think once COVID came a few years ago, I think the financial fair play rules were relaxed a little bit for a start, as were like any punishments. And the other thing is the way payments are structured these days is that, you know, like, so you say, you know, right, we're paying 60 or 70, 65 million to your player. They're not paying it up front. You know, they're spending it over like 3 or 4 years. You know, they're paying it in installments, which again helps, as Kevin said, you know, bend the rules. You're not breaking anything, like, you know, but like that sum of money is not, you know, like 65 million is not going out 1 year. Hence, you know, it affects your loss that year. It's going up across 3-4 years or whatever it is, you know. So
Okay.
I mean, look, you know, clubs are wise to this, you know, and you know, there have been few have been caught out in the past. I would imagine Chelsea know what they're doing in that,
Okay.
know what they're doing financially. Not necessarily with some of the players assigned.
Brilliant. Okay, let me come back to Kev because we couldn't have a post London derby Hollywood balls and not mention it, Kev. You know, the build up last weekend, as any derby, but it was great, the North London build up. I've got to ask you though, as a former Arsenal player who's played in these big, huge games, and as an Arsenal fan, of course, was that probably the easiest away derby you've experienced?
Pete, look, one thing I will say. First off, I was sitting back. I had me cup of tea. Yeah, I had
Smoking jacket on.
big smoking jacket. I was chilled. You know, second half when you go into near at half time and second half, sometimes the team didn't need to be on the front foot anymore because they were cruising. Spurs, rightly so, they're at home. They came for Arsenal. Arsenal couldn't really get themselves going, but defended properly and got a very, very good win, Pete. So would I say it's the easiest? It was the easiest first half, but second half,
Okay.
Spurs did make life a bit difficult. I've got to say that.
Spurs, Ali, and again they've played again since our last show. You go 2-0 up at City. It had memories of our what we talked about on our Newcastle podcast. It had all the hallmarks of the Newcastle performance. Although Spurs were 2-0 up, you just knew, didn't you, what was coming? It's like you're waiting for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And by the way, when it comes to Manchester City, this happens so often. Don't forget the title decider last year. You feel like when a club like City is like, you know, like are going to just keep knocking on the door. They're going to keep putting the pressure on. If one goal comes, the
Yeah.
second's going to come relatively soon after that. You know, it's almost like, you know, Tottenham. You know, Tottenham needed to keep it at nil. You know, once it was 2-1, you knew what was coming, and it came very soon after that. You know, and we saw it in the game against Newcastle when Newcastle was 3-1 up. Saw it against Villa on the last day of the season, and obviously we saw it again. You know, I think what people have been saying about Manchester City, you know, there's a bit of hysteria about, like, you know, that, you know, people just can't wait to criticize Pep, you know, and saying like City have fallen off and
Incredible.
all that. You know, I mean, they're 5 points off the top of the table and all that. Look, I think Arsenal are the real deal. I would make them favorites at the moment and all that, but you can't write off City. I mean, someone was asking me, like, "Do you think Arsenal will fall off?" And I was like, "I don't think so. I don't think Arsenal will fall off." And people were like, "Yeah, they'll bottle it." I don't think any of that will happen. But what I will say is that I've seen City, and they've done it to Liverpool, they've done it to Chelsea and other teams. City will put a run, like maybe, you know, come February, March, April. I mean, every season they've ended up winning the league. You know, they've put in a run of like 10, 12 consecutive victories. They've got that in them, you know. So it's not about like Arsenal dropping off. I think Arsenal will continue. It's just that City will put the pressure on. You know, it'll be very interesting between those two. I can't see anyone else. You know, like you know, I mean, obviously Newcastle are in it. You know, but you know, I mean, I think anything Newcastle will do in the if yeah, I know, but if they join the title race, it'll be like a massive bonus, like we said in our
Not enough firepower, Ali. Not
No,
enough.
at the moment, not enough firepower.
Unfortunately, and that's unfortunate because I think you hear uh, people from Newcastle talking about even getting a new striker. That tells you that what's lacking at Newcastle is firepower. That
Yeah.
really is. And I hope Isak keeps himself fit because he's a difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've been saying it on our Newcastle podcast. We've been saying, you know, like, look, you know, for a while we were saying Newcastle should be looking over their shoulder, who's behind them in the fight for third or fourth. But suddenly they find themselves up there, and they should be looking ahead. They should be looking at
That's
City.
right.
They should be looking at Newcastle. Absolutely every right. But I think Kevin summed it up. Without like a sort of regular goal scorer, someone you can count on to be fit and to bang in the goals, they'll fall a bit short. I mean, they still will make it an amazing season. I mean, look at us. We're talking about Newcastle going for the title, But at the moment, you look at, Arsenal have been absolutely relentless. This is a season that reminds me of Liverpool, when Liverpool won the title 3 years ago, where it's just one win after another, like City, it's good for Arsenal. I think that it came in a season where City have dropped off slightly, but nowhere near as much as people are, making out to be. I think City will still be in there at the end.
Hey, Ali, whoa, time out, Ali, whoa, time out. City have dropped off. They've got a goal scoring machine at the top end of the pitch. Nobody was saying City have. No, hold on. Nobody was saying City have dropped off when Haaland was scoring hat trick after hat trick after hat trick. For them, they changed their team to put Haaland in it. So it's not that City have dropped off. No. Let's get it right. They're defending champions here.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I'm just saying, you go on social media, you see some people. I mean, I've read articles saying like, what has happened to Manchester City? Nothing, you see people, City fans booing their team. You see, you see people saying on Twitter, Pep's taken the team as far as he could. It's crazy, I disagree with all of that. I'm on your side, Kevin.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
just and how can you say that when, as you say, you have Haaland banging the goals? When you look at their bench and you've got like £100 million player like Grealish sitting there, you've got Foden sitting on the bench. That's why I keep saying, like, if they hit any run of form, it's going to be very tight at the end,
Yeah.
Kev, I've got to say to you then, so looking at it with my Premier League hat on, I'm thinking that Arsenal will probably feel this as well, fans, players alike, maybe the coach. But a massive win this weekend against Manchester United firmly puts you in a favourites position, doesn't it?
Pete, let's not have it twisted. If Manchester City beat Wolves, the lead is 2 points. And when you start feeling the breath on the back of your neck, that does funny things to teams sometimes. And listen, earlier on in the season, Arsenal have responded. This is a huge game. The only loss of the season came at Old Trafford. So Arsenal want to pay Man United back. This is huge. This rivalry is huge. I just think Arsenal have to just keep doing what they're doing. They're playing very consistent. They're scoring goals from all over the pitch. And this is one at home. You've got to win your home games. That's for sure. You've got to win your home games. So they'll fancy their chances.
We're going to look at that one in detail in a little bit, but I wanted to look, it's lucky for me, and I say this on our podcast and I say it on Hollywood Balls, to have you two together in the same room is fantastic. You're two of the most knowledgeable people in football. So I was going to use this opportunity to ask you your thoughts. A gentleman in the Premier League who struck me in the last couple of weeks, and I love what he's doing, is your man at Wolves. I'll come to you first, Ali. Julen Lopetegui. What do you make of him? Because he's a winner, isn't he? But I've loved watching his pressers. I've loved his post-match analysis. And let's have it right, Ali. He's turning Wolves around as well.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Watching them I know Liverpool won the replay, but I'm watching them at Anfield a couple of weeks ago in the cup. Liverpool played their full team, and they played their I would say reserves, but like a slightly weakened team. And they outplayed Liverpool, and they should have won. And it was very impressive how they played. Like you looked at and you think of this. If he's getting that across the squad, because a lot of the players there were backup players. Then already in a short period of time, this is a guy who, don't forget, in 2018 was the manager of Spain going into the World Cup. And then he had to leave because it came out that Real Madrid wanted him. So this is the level of the quality. And obviously after he had a cup, that went badly for him because it didn't go well at Real Madrid. He had to leave, so he ended up with neither job, Spain or Real Madrid. But he is a quality coach. He's won the Europa Cup recently, and I think again it just shows you keep looking at the Premier League, and even clubs that are struggling at the bottom. They get to pick up some of the best coaches in Europe. It shows the strength. I mean, we know that. We see how much the money that's being spent compared to the rest of Europe. We see the problems that are going around. On Europe. I don't know if you saw that stat. Chelsea by themselves have spent more than the rest of the leagues. Like put together. I think. Yeah. So but I think obviously that is always obvious in players that their clubs sign, but I think it's always really obvious as well now these days with the coaches. They're the best coaches in the world are in the Premier League, and again, it's not just your top clubs that are doing that. Right across the league, they get to pick up the best coaches in Europe, and this is a problem for clubs that are not doing well.
Yeah.
I hate to name them, but like clubs like West Ham and Everton and all that, because they'll be looking and saying, well, Wolves got Lopetegui. If things aren't going well for
Good
us,
point.
we can look to the continent, get similar quality from there.
Leads me nicely in. Massive game at the other end, Kev, with your old club. I mean, you're thinking about Arsenal, Man United. I know that, but wow, I bet you as a Blue, what a huge game in London this weekend.
Yeah, huge game. Both teams are really struggling. Both are in the bottom three. You look at it and you say to yourself, whoever wins this game, Pete, has a really good chance because the confidence should come back if you win this game. I think Everton have to put all the pressure on West Ham. West Ham are at home. The locals could turn very quickly if the team ain't playing well. So Moyes has got his work cut out. Obviously, it's Moyes' old team as well. So it's
Kev, he was really prickly in the presser yesterday, David Moyes. Very prickly.
Oh yeah.
About how, because I asked him about, he said, I wished I'd had that support when I was there. And it was like,
Oh yeah. One of them with it. Yeah. Oh, I tell you what, Pete, you're gonna see it all. If West Ham win, it'll be charming. If they lose, it'll be double icy. Trust me, it'll be double icy. Massive game, and I think, do you know what? I think it's a draw. I know we're gonna get to predictions, but both teams aren't playing well enough, Pete, at the moment. I just think a draw.
I think, Pete, I just want to say something, and I think that's a really good point by Kev. A draw. They're playing so badly. I think like the first thing is going to be caution, but at the end, if they get, I think a draw, it's almost like a defeat for both of them. I mean, one thing, if you look at the table, unlike previous seasons, there's no one club that's cut off really. Or if you want to look at it at clubs that are cut off, then West Ham and Everton are part of that because the bottom three all have 15 points. So a draw today is almost like a loss, because it's not like this is not a 16, 17 thinking, right, there are three clubs below us who are worse. And if we put in a couple of results, they are part of those bottom three at the moment. And no team is being sort of left behind. So, a draw today could very possibly leave whoever, both of them in the last two places, obviously.
Well, think about it, Pete. A win for either team could propel them to 14th place.
Yeah, that was my next question. Look at all the teams from about 15th onwards. There's about 5 points
from 13th, where Nottingham Forest are, and look where Forest were before. You string a few results together, you jump
pushing
out
for
of
Europe.
It. Exactly, mate. So, listen, this is a huge game, and whoever wins this is going a good way to getting out of trouble.
Good stuff. Thomason's in the house. I wanted to say hi to him. He's one of our loyalist viewers, and great to have him here. And I'd forgotten, so please forgive me, Thomason. We're going to ask you now, though. You've moved to Canada. Can you remember, Kev? Because Thomason was in Nigeria, moved to Canada. So I hope that's going well. It's obviously morning over there, but he's up.
Hope he's got a big coat.
Yeah, I hope he's got a big coat. I hope he's got his TV ready as well for the football today. Brilliant. So speaking of TV, nice performance midweek, Ali. I saw you on Al Jazeera being interviewed, which is why we've asked you to come on today, because you were in the Kingdom. You were in Saudi for GOAT versus GOAT. By some strange quirk of fate, if you didn't already know, I don't know where you've been. You must have been under a rock. But Leo Messi was in Saudi Arabia this week, and it just so happened that it fell on the same occasion as Ronaldo's first game in his new colours. What was it like, Ali? What was the atmosphere?
Yeah, it was really, really interesting. I mean, it was an interesting week because it started off with the final of the Spanish Super Cup, which was played in
Yeah,
Riyadh, which Barcelona beat Real Madrid 3-1. And then there was the Italian Cup, Italian Super Cup, which I went to. I didn't go to the Spanish one, but I went to the Italian Super
good
Cup.
game.
And yeah, good game. Inter beat, Inter as the cup holders beat Milan as the champions 3-0. Quite an interesting game, 50,000 people there as well, big crowd,
Oh,
interesting, very cold day. It was like around 7 by the time the match took place, like for this part of the world, obviously, again, a little bit cold, but
freezing,
very-
Kev.
Yeah,
yeah.
freezing. Yeah, real freezing. Yeah.
I know, but it was it was freezing for me. But that was interesting. That was good, and we got to meet some real legends. We got to meet people like Maldini and Baresi and Zanetti and all that. Yeah, so so there was a bit of like, but the real main event for everyone, despite two huge games, was that friendly game. It was a friendly between a Riyadh Select 11, which was from Al Hilal and Al Nasser, which is Ronaldo's new club, against PSG. Now this match had been planned about a year ago. And it was postponed because PSG were having like some COVID issues and all that. So it was not set up so that Ronaldo would play against Messi. It just,
Right.
as you say, it was a quirk of fate. And also the other thing is that Ronaldo was meant to have played a couple of league games, but he had a ban from his time at Manchester United, which carried over. So this friendly ended up being his first ever game in Saudi Arabia, and it happened to be against Messi. So you can imagine the circus around it. It was very, very interesting. I mean, it was an entertaining game of football. The PSG won 5-4. Messi scored a brilliant early goal, absolutely brilliant. Mbappe is just superb throughout. You're watching. It's just a joy to watch him play. Ronaldo scored a penalty and did his celebration, his Sue celebration, and the whole crowd went mental. He scored another goal afterwards, and you could see, right, he's arrived, and it was an interesting game. Sergio Ramos scored a goal. PSG had a player sent off, and the last goal of the match, Pete, was scored by one Hugo Ekitike, and it was a very, very
Yes.
good, linked with Newcastle for a long time. Brilliant goal as well. Very, very exciting game, but it was interesting. Like on the hour, they took Ronaldo off, and literally seconds later, Messi was taking off, and we were saying like, just like you can't separate them, step for they can't escape each other's shadow, step for step, everything, Messi scored a goal, Ronaldo equalized, they take a lead, Ronaldo equalizes again, Ronaldo goes off, Messi goes off. It's just if you talk of one, you have to talk of the other, and it was an interesting. At the end of it, obviously they gave a trophy to
Friends now,
PSG.
Ali? Is the friendship blossoming now? Is it
Yeah,
bromance on the cards?
yeah, I mean, like they gave each other the hug and like whispering to each other and all that, and fans love to see that
Tagging
kind of
each other
stuff.
on Insta?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think, and it was, it's quite poignant. I don't think we're going to see them on the pitch ever, like again. This is the last time.
Okay, brilliant,
Yeah.
brilliant stuff. And to be there as well and witness it, amazing. Okay, Kev, 11 of Arsenal's 17 Premier League victories have come in this fixture, have come on a Sunday. There's a nice stat for you. United have failed to score in 6 of their last 9 league matches away to the Gunners. So, and also their new kingpin, Casemiro, although if you listen to Ten Hag, he wouldn't have it. He said he wasn't playing in the last game, rightly so. But it will be a big miss for Man United, that won't it? So will Arsenal look at that?
100%, Pete. I think Manchester United were going to feel no Casemiro there because you actually seen how important Casemiro is to this Manchester United team. Not only is he a good player, he's quality defensively, he's quality on the ball, and he's quality offensively. He breaks things up. He stops the opposition. He does so many different things. He's Manchester United's Swiss Army knife, Pete, and they haven't got it in there. They haven't got it in there anymore. And the first game, Thomas Partey didn't play for Arsenal, and he's gonna be played. So I think it makes Arsenal's midfield a lot stronger than Manchester United's. And listen, I expect Arsenal to win the game. No disrespect to Manchester United, they've been on a really good run, but I think Arsenal have to win at home.
Good stuff. Ali is a connoisseur of European football. Just how important has has this guy been for Man United? I mean, literally, he's on every back page in Manchester and national newspaper. So it is a big miss. Kev's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, the guy again. Sometimes I know Kev watches a lot at watches covers and presents a lot of European football, so he knows and he would have watched it for years and years. But I think sometimes a lot of the time, when so many things when we talk about the Premier League, it's very Premier League centric. You forget the quality that obviously everybody assumes the Premier League's better. Some players come to the Premier League, they don't perform, and they're instantly, they think, or if they don't perform at the beginning, they're like, oh, that's a failure and all that. There's a level of arrogance to the Premier League. I feel sometimes, that dismisses other leagues, and anyone who's watched Real Madrid over the last for like decade, would know how good this guy is, one of the best in the world. You don't get to be Brazil's, holding midfielder and Real Madrid's win all those Champions League, and people come in and say, oh, he's coming at the end of the career. You have to watch these guys. They're absolute quality. They come in and they take the level of the team to a whole new level. And all you have to do is look at some of United's performances last year. With all due respect to the midfielders that they had, I know Manchester United and my friends who are Man United fans, constantly complained about, is it Fred, is it McTominay, is it whoever comes in and all that. And you bring in someone like that and just changes the whole setup of the team. So missing him and having Partey back, I think, to be honest, if both were playing, I would still go for Arsenal. But I think with missing him, massive boost for Arsenal, I think.
Just around the corner for us is our predictions. First off, though, Kev, let's have a baller of the week. Plenty to choose from in the last 7 days in the world of football.
Yeah, there is plenty to choose from, Pete. Listen, I could go across the spectrum, but you know me, I'm an Arsenal man, and I've got to go for the Arsenal, the whole Mikel Arteta and the Arsenal team, especially after the 6 months after Spurs smashed Arsenal at the back end of last season. Arsenal returned the favour with this young team. So I'm going to go for the Arsenal, Pete.
11 ball, 12, 14 ballers.
Hey, and all the away fans, Pete. Come on, there's thousands.
Yeah, they had a ball. They had a ball on their own right. Watching
did.
them in the away end, absolute steam. Sorry to all my Spurs fans, but it was. Ali, have you got a baller for us? It could be one of the two in Saudi you just mentioned.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? I watching Messi and Ronaldo is always a pleasure. And I know I keep saying it, but Mbappe is just an absolute,
a young Kevin Campbell.
he's out like, and I'm sure Kevin agrees with me that what a player he is.
Wonderful.
Surely the next best player in the world, or the best player in the world at the moment. But I'm actually going to go for an Arsenal player as well. I'm going to go for Odegaard because of of his performance. But really, for this performances, you could say for the whole season. But I'm going to go because of the last game. He's just a joy to watch, an absolute joy to watch. But it's not, with end results. He scores, he sets up goals. He's leading the team, and an absolute perfect symbol of this Arsenal. And of Arsenal this season, everything about him is just brilliant. So I'll go for Martin Odegaard.
Great choice. Read an article about him this week, Kev. Superb. And you know what I love about it, Odegaard as well, under the radar.
Yeah, he's very unassuming. He's not loud. He's just very humble and goes about his business. But you know what, Pete? He's got a lot of drive in him. For a kid who was he went to Real Madrid at 15, 16. That takes some doing. Real Madrid are a huge club, could chew you up and spit you out. He done his time there, he done his time on loan, and now he's actually coming into himself now. He's really making a big name for himself. And he's Arsenal's captain. So fantastic
Brilliant.
job.
Listen, I'm glad I've got Ali on as well, and you, Kev, because I've got a brilliant WhatsApp message. I was watching your friend and our friend on Hollywood Bowls, Robert Earnshaw, who every time I turn, I'm expecting to see him hosting breakfast television. Every time I turn the box on, he's there early. And he's on with Roy Keane. And of course, he's covering that FA Cup the other night with this superb goalkeeper. Did you see the treble save?
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And of course, Ernie's filming, and he's got Roy Keane on film saying it's his job. He's the goalkeeper. That's why he wears the gloves. And he said, come on, Roy. It's a treble save. It's a treble save and an FA Cup replay. It was absolutely unbelievable. It's his job. He's the goalkeeper. And I just thought, there we go. And Ernie was laughing his head off. But there's another one for your collection, Ali, of it's his job.
Yeah. I know. It's brilliant. I think I kind of sit and wait for Roger. They're so funny, So yeah, no surprise there.
Great to see Ernie, Kev, who was on our sofa here in the Dubliners. What a character. Great guy. And roommate of yours, wasn't he, back in the day?
He was at West Bromwich Albion. Yeah, he was a roommate of mine. Very, very lovely lad. Great lad. And really good to see him doing so well now in the media side. Excellent.
King of the goals. Loved the goal, didn't he?
Loved the hat trick. Loved the goal. And loved the flip as well, didn't he? He could do the flips and he was doing the Matador celebration. He had them all. He was excellent.
He was telling everyone that we're listening to Dubliners about his Guinness Book of Records with his hat tricks.
Yes.
Speaking of hat tricks, Kev, if you win on the predictions today, the DK Hot Sauce predictions, it'll be a hat trick of wins for you after winning last week. George was sadly not too far away, and I don't think he was too bothered because of the defeat that his beloved Spurs had suffered. So I left him alone. I didn't give him the results. Okay. We'll start with our guest today, sport editor of Arab News. By the way, Kev, I'm quietly confident today that Ali might challenge you because we do this on the Newcastle United Black and White with Arab News podcast, and he's pretty good at it.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Come on in, Ali. Come on in.
Liverpool versus Everton in.
Pete, what are you doing, man? Now you got him mad. He's going to definitely beat me now.
No.
we've got a predictions final of Liverpool versus Everton here. Okay, so first up, Ali, Liverpool Chelsea.
I'm going to go Liverpool 2, Chelsea 1.
Liverpool 2, Chelsea 1. Super Kev.
Pete, I've got exactly the same. 2-1. Liverpool Chelsea.
2-1. I've gone for a score draw. I've gone for a Desmond. I think there'll be goals in it today. Okay, Ali. Crikey Moses. West Ham against Everton. All the best.
Oof. I'm going to go West Ham 3, Everton 1.
I can feel the shudder down my relegation haunted spine from last season for these two sides. West Ham, Everton.
Yeah, listen, I said it during the show. I'm going to go for a draw. Score draw, 1 each. I think both teams aren't playing well enough. If West Ham score 3 goals, they deserve it. They deserve to win. I'm going to go 1-1.
Does Danny Ings play today?
I don't think he does. I don't think so. Maybe he might be involved, but I don't think he does.
If Ings plays, I can see Ali score. If not, I'm with Kev. I've got 1-1 down here as well. Another interesting game. 2 teams on their uppers a little bit. There was a few eyebrows raised down at the Old Dell when Mr. Nathan Jones went in, but he seems to be turning it around. Ali, Southampton Villa is quite an intriguing game today.
Tough one, obviously, because of Southampton's position, but they'll be going all out for a win. I think, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go for Southampton 1, Villa 0. I'm going to go for Southampton 1.
Kev?
Yeah.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go 2-1 to Villa.
Okay, I've got, sitting on the fence again here, I've got Southampton Villa, I've got 1-1. Just think they'll cancel each other out. Okay, Ali, we talked about them. We've talked about Pep. We've talked about him being booed off at half time. He had his own bit to say, by the way. Fair play to him. He had a go at Man United. He had a go at them. He had a go at his own fans as well. Rightly so. They can't fill the stadium. If Darren's watching, my apologies. City Wolves, Ali.
Oh, it'll be business as usual, I think. City 3, Wolves 0.
Kev?
I've got 3-1. 3-1 City.
Just turning my phone off in case Darren Ball rings because I'll get expletives down. Okay, I've got City 4, Wolves 1 because I do fancy. I don't think City are as tight at the back. They are conceded, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, Ali. Last up, the big one, Super Sunday. Arsenal, Man United.
It's got to be Arsenal. I think, I know we spoke about Casemiro and all that. Even if Casemiro was playing, I would still go for an Arsenal win. I think it's going to be Arsenal 2, Man United 0.
Okay, Super Kev.
I'm going 3-1, Pete. 3-1, reverse the score at Old Trafford.
Okay, I've got 2-0 to Arsenal. I think a goal either half will do the job. Great stuff. I just wanted to give a special mention as well to Christian Atsu, who Ali and I interviewed this week. What a fantastic character! Amazing, Kev. When you get the players on who played at the top level, and you ask them, and they churn the names off of who he played under. So he was talking about Rafa Benitez, Jose Mourinho, Eddie Howe, of course, because he was on loan at Bournemouth.
At Bournemouth, yeah.
And if you have a look at his international record, Kev, a Ghanaian legend.
Yeah.
So for all our African fans, go and have a look at that one because Ali, how good was Christian Atsu on that podcast?
It was brilliant. It's always a pleasure to talk to ex-players. I never take it for granted. It's always, and for us, we're me and you are football fans. You obviously, Kev, we're a professional, but like speaking to you and speaking to people like Christian Atsu, speaking to all our guests is always an absolute pleasure, and an education. And he was great. Again, reminded us that I personally, that he had played under Eddie Howe, and I asked him, and I said, tell us a little bit more, is he beyond the smiles and this, nice guy image? And he said, look, Eddie Howe's got a bit of a ruthless streak, like he goes, if you're not doing the job, he'll get you out. He goes, like, look at Newcastle now and all that.
Tough.
So again, very insightful. He gave us some really good. Told us about his time at Newcastle with Benitez and all that. Another one of my favorites. I love Rafa Benitez. So it was fantastic. And like I said, it's always a pleasure talking to players like that.
Brilliant.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Ali. Kev, did say Christian Atsu. I said, will they retain that top 4 position? He said, absolutely, were his words. He said, I actually took them for top 4 at the start of the season.
Wow,
so
fantastic.
If he'd been visiting Newcastle on that old brown ale, but he said he had them from the beginning of the season. So great stuff. Ali, delighted you could join us on Hollywood Balls. Great to see you. Super Kev.
Brilliant, thanks.
Brilliant to see you as always. Whoever your team is, have a great weekend with Hollywood Balls. We're going to get stuck in here at the Dubliners. It's happy hour after all. Have a great weekend, one and all.
Ring the bell!
We will see you on next week's show. See you then.